Just got this in the mail. Let's see what's inside. First step, get the appropriate tool. Never cut towards yourself, by the way. I almost just sliced my hand off. Now, don't tell my wife I use this kitchen knife to do this. I'll be in so much trouble.
What do you mean?
What do we got? Woo-wee. All right. Woo! We got the KONTROL S61 MK3. Let's open the rest. Some nice packaging for sure. This thing is like well taken care of. Oh yeah. All right, looks like we have a USB-C cable. It's a pretty good length here. Solid build. Getting a little workout in here. Ooh, it's sleek. Nice. Very heavy duty. Sexy 61 keys.
I'm too sexy for my shirt.
The back has USB-C in and host. There's charge only, so if you wanted to, I'm sure like plug it into MIDI and just have it charging. And then there's a sustain pedal, expression pedal, a sine 1 and a sine 2. Who knows what that could be? The feel on it is amazing. It's like very like a synth feel, and it has aftertouch, which is really nice. But let's take it up to Studio A. Let's plug it in and let's go through some sounds and just see how it just starts up, because that's what I wanted this video to be, is just showing you guys like when you buy this thing and you plug it in, what happens, and can we get up and going right away. So let's head upstairs. All right, we're back up in Studio A. I got the KONTROL 61 all plugged in. All I had to do was connect the USB-C directly to my Mac M1 Studio. Very, very simple. I love that it's bus powered. That's awesome. So let's launch it and see what we get right away. Power button, get a cool logo, lights. Ooh, get a little light show. So right away it's saying welcome, add your serial in native access. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so here we are in native access. I'm gonna add the serial here. I'm not really understanding this, so I'm going to go to the actual control setup web page they have here. All right, so now it's telling me step 1, download, install, and run native access. Did it. Step 2, plug in your keyboard. Did it. Cool. Step 3, enter the serial number in native access. Awesome. Step 4, update your hardware. Update your hardware via hardware connection service in native access. So that's really confusing. I don't like the fact that you have to go through all these hoops. This is weird, and I think it should just be able to launch right away without you having to download all this stuff. If it is going to give you that update your hardware thing, I think it should be a lot like an iPhone, you know, where it just kind of takes you through the process step by step on screen here or in native access. Now I've updated everything through native access. Let's check out what the keyboard can do in Logic. So I got my session open for my latest song, Lucky You. You guys go check it out if you want to. Shameless self-plug here. Now let's see what we can do with this keyboard. As I go through the tracks here, you can see I have the default MIDI template on. If I hit the DAW button, I start to get access to my panning, my volume, my mutes, which is really cool because I can go up and down the keyboard and you can see it switching here on the screen as well, which kind of makes this a control surface as well as a keyboard, as well as a browser for Kontakt and complete control and all that, because I'm getting a lot of things for the value of buying just a MIDI keyboard. You can do things like mute and unmute tracks, which is really fun. You can also do things like panning and volume. For panning, I think you can go up and down on this arrow as well. Oh, it looks like it's actually selecting in the DAW. As you can see on screen, it's selecting the next region in the track that's selected. So that's really dope. I mean, there's a lot of functionality to that. If you go right and left, you can see that it's going down and up tracks. So I don't even need to use my my keyboard if I don't want to. I'm talking my typing keyboard. I can literally just go right and left. Here's something that's really interesting about the keyboard that I think is highly valuable. You can see these lights light up, the browser and the plugin light when I go to the session horns. Now I'm gonna go back up to the Oz, which is just a vocal channel, and these lights go off. But when it senses that something's like Kontakt or complete is on, it'll give you the browser and the plugin button. If I hit the plugin button, I'm going to go from the DAW mode here to the actual plugin. So here, let's go to Session Horns. So now we have Session Horns Pro. This is the part of this keyboard that I think is going to be really cool for me as far as workflow goes, because now I can do things like automate parameters right here from the screen. everything's perfectly linked also to the plugin. So I can also go to the browser here and I can change sounds. And you can see here, there's other things I can do. There's an arrow here. So if I hit this, it'll load up the next instrument, which doesn't look like I have one. But you have threshold, humanize, swing. If I touch the knobs, it goes and it highlights the knob. As you can see, it's just like touch sensitive, which is really cool. So I can humanize the horns. I can turn the threshold up and down. I can go one shot rhythm, percussion section. There's a bunch of just preset macros on screen. So let's open up Kontakt so we can see what that looks like. Now, as you can see on screen, this is what the Session Horns Pro looks like. And this is the screen I get on the keyboard. So let's see what else we have here that we can mess around with. Okay, so if I go previous or next, it'll go to the next library in Kontakt, which is kind of dope. So I'll go next again, and we'll go Hollywood Winds. Let's open up 40's very own drums and see if we can open this. Okay, cool. I'm gonna hit next, and I'm getting all the different kits in 40's very own. This is really dope. So if I had a plugin open like Session Horns Pro, and I wanted to just go through the different styles, maybe it's staccato or the voicings or the articulations, etc., I could use this next and previous. And what that's doing is if you do this drop down here, it's just going through these, or it's going through these presets here. So that's a really fast way to go through presets. Of course, you can see the macros, you got saturation, crush, and you can kind of do this stuff really quick. And let's just mess around with this drum right here. I want to see what we can do here. As a creative tool, I can see myself going crazy with this, especially if you're making beats or you're composing and you just want to grab something that you would never grab and just start tweaking it and messing with it. So this here to me is the creative aspect of this keyboard. Going through libraries I would never actually open or touch. They're all right here on complete control, and I can just go through these sounds, and I'm going to do that real quick with you guys. Check this out.
Hey champ, that's really interesting.
So now let's talk about polyphonic aftertouch, because this is a huge feature of this keyboard that a lot of MIDI keyboards just don't have. I have the Trigon 6 here, the sequential Trigon 6. This has polyphonic aftertouch, but it's just the brain of the synth. I didn't get the one with the actual key bed on it because it's literally like $1,000 more or something. It was insane, and it just wasn't worth it. Even the key bed was just like a decent Fatar key bed. I think the feel of this feels better than the Trigon 6 keyboard that came with that. So what I'm able to do with this is have this as my main brain, which means I can use the polyphonic aftertouch on this keyboard through the MIDI out to control the sequential Trigon 6. And I can also use the aftertouch on my paraphonic Moog matriarch here, which is really cool because then I can send MIDI out and through, and I can control my whole studio with just this, and then go back to software synths like Ignition Keys here. So Ignition Keys has all of these macros that came right onto screen, right? And I can go back to my browser or plug in at any time on the screen here, which means I can switch through these different sounds, right? So I can go Ignition Keys, India, Kinetic Metal, Kinetic Toys, and I can select any of these. For now, I'm going to stay on Ignition Keys, but once you highlight your instrument, you just press this encoder and it uploads it, right? So now we're on India, right? Going back to the browser, we'll go back to Ignition Keys and we'll click, and Ignition Keys is now open. Quick note for you guys using external MIDI on these Control series keyboards. If you want to take a MIDI out and control, say, an external synth, like an analog synth or brain, you need to actually do two things. You need to hook up a MIDI cable from the output into the input of your synth that you're trying to control. And then the second thing that's not super clear, it will not actually trigger the output of the MIDI until you unplug the USB-C from the computer and then you externally power it. So there's two USB-C ports on the back here. and you have to externally power it from, let's say, like an iPhone charger or whatever cable coming in. And that's what I have going on now. And I couldn't figure it out at first. I was like, dude, why isn't this not working, you know? But if that USB-C is connected to a computer and it's being charged and bust there, then it will not play and trigger out of the MIDI output. Kind of a bummer, but at the same time, it's not like a, you know, make or break deal for me. Because usually if I'm going to use an analog synth on an output, I do probably want to just focus on that analog synth, and I'm not playing like a software synth and an analog synth and all these things at the same time usually. I'm usually just like tweaking a sound on the analog synth and trying to get it down. So that's what that does. But the good thing is, and the good news is, the polyphonic aftertouch works right away out of the box with any synth that I've plugged into so far with just external MIDI. That's what this is all connected to right now. And you can see also the velocity curves, they work. And the keys here, when you go to the key bed, if you go to the settings on MIDI, you can see that there's aftertouch polyphonic and then there's monophonic. Now the difference between monophonic and polyphonic aftertouch. When you do monophonic, it means whatever pressure you add to one of the keys, it's going to do it to all the keys pretty much. Okay. So they're not separated. So if you do one key where you push and you hold down a little bit harder like this, you can hear it's controlling the filter envelope, opening up the filter up and down, right, on the actual synth. But it's doing it to all the keys. If you go to polyphonic mode, the cool thing is you can do it to separate keys. So I can hold down a bass note and I can do a note up here and I can do different aftertouches on both. And that's really cool because then you can get a lot more movement when you're playing chords and things. So those are the aftertouch modes and they're really cool. And I'm using an analog synth here. You could do this with Arturia or with Native Instruments, whatever you want inside of your software as well. You just have to set it up in the software so you know what the aftertouch is controlling. And not all synths have aftertouch built in. So that's it for the KONTROL S61 MK3. This is from Native Instruments. I think it's highly, highly worth the price tag. You're getting a control surface. You're able to work with your DAW. It works perfectly and flawlessly with Ableton, Logic Pro, Studio One, Pro Tools. I'd imagine it's just going to get better and better. And if you're a composer, like, the ability to fly through this stuff, be able to automate parameters on the fly, turning up volumes and turning down volumes. It's just a really versatile piece of instrument. And obviously in this video, I wanted to show you guys kind of the real world of it, right? Like you're not just going to open this up, plug it in and be like, everything works perfect. That'd be awesome. But there are going to be some things that you're going to have to read about. You're going to have to download and update software and things like that. But if you can go through that stuff like a normal human being, then you'll reap all the rewards of what this thing can do. Now, if you want to pick up one of these bad boys, you can click the link in the description and grab an S61, a 49, or even an S88 fully weighted, full piano version of this keyboard. Hope you guys really enjoyed the content. If you did, share it, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.